What's up, everybody? I'm Adam. You're watching the Model AV8R channel. This is the new HobbyKing Mini L-39 Albatros 64mm EDF. Now, this is going to be a bit of a streamlined review for us, and for good reason. HobbyKing got an opportunity from one of their factories to purchase this airplane at a special rate. The catch is, once that factory did one production run of this airplane, that was it. They're never going to make it again. So what that means for you is once HobbyKing sells out, once they're gone, they're gone. And once they're gone, so are the parts. That means that this airplane is going to be well suited for a specific set of modelers and not so well suited for others. We wanted to lead with that so that you know what you're getting into with this one right off the bat. Now, make no mistake, we're just being forthright. That doesn't mean that this airplane's not worth having. It just means that some modelers are going to have a better chance, given the circumstances, of having this airplane still in their hangar and flying well 2 years from now than others, and that's something that you need to consider. We'll touch a little bit more on that in our final thoughts at the end of the review. This one is unique in that it is in the 50mm EDF size class. It has a 25-inch wingspan. It's 31 inches long. It weighs 25 ounces, ready to fly with the recommended 4S 2200 milliamp pack. Has a 50 amp ESC, a 2220-3300 kV outrunner motor, and 3 9-gram servos. This one is very simple, made on a budget like other 50mm EDFs, hence the deal that HobbyKing got on this one, and it was a pretty good deal because the sale price, at least here in the US, is $129.99, which for a 50mm EDF class airplane is very good. What it shares with its 50mm brothers and sisters is it is a hand tosser that is intended for belly landing. You've got plastic skid plates here, a plastic nose cone, protection for your servo arms and linkages, magnetic wing tanks that will just pop off if they get caught in grass. Belly landing, which is very nice. It is a convenient top loader. There is enough room in there for the recommended size pack. Pretty simple stuff. Bank and yank, elevator, aileron, no functioning rudder, of course throttle control. HobbyKing is going to sell it as a plug and fly like they normally do, which means you choose the radio protocol and install your receiver of choice yourself. And that is pretty much it. That's what it has in common with other 50mm EDFs, except that this isn't a 50mm EDF. The factory for HobbyKing has shoehorned a 64mm EDF in there and motor and ESC setup. So this one has a good bit more power than other 50mm EDFs. I can attest to that. You'll see in the flying, this thing will absolutely scoot. When it comes to the assembly, it's not difficult, but it's not as easy as some modern day models. This one doesn't bolt together. It glues together, but it's a very low part count, very little to glue together. You have a one-piece fuselage, one-piece wing, one-piece horizontal, one-piece vertical, and that is pretty much it. The quick setup guide that the L-39 comes with has a QR code that you can scan to gain access to the full manual, and it's not a bad idea because there is a gotcha when it comes to assembling this airplane. First off, when we glue an airplane together, we want to make sure that we clean the areas, the contact areas, with rubbing alcohol, and we also take very fine grit sandpaper, like 400 grit, and just very lightly sand the contact areas. That gives you a really good adhesion, and we used foam tack. The gotcha is when you are putting the vertical on, you want to make sure that you remove the access panel to the EDF unit so that you don't put glue on this part of your vertical and make it so that you can't get that thing off. Ask me how I know that. When it comes to setup, normally the quick setup guide is a great thing to reference, but I think there's a misprint on this one when it comes to the control throw. I'm sure that there is. They list the high rates as 80mm and 60mm respectively, which is ridiculous. These surfaces won't even deflect anywhere near that much, and you wouldn't want them to. The low rate is listed as 30mm, which, to be honest, would be a very high rate for a little jet like this. So I would ignore the control throw suggestions. Maybe check out our setup page here in just a bit. They list a CG of 49mm. We were able to get that, but only with the battery a bit further forward. We're flying this exclusively on 2200 4 cells like they suggest. Flew it on 3 different ones, and with the batteries forward, it is definitely flies nose heavy. It doesn't slow down very well, comes in hot to land, and just a little bit more difficult to handle all the way around. We flew it on Spectrum, SMC, and Turn-G 4S 2200s. We're putting them all the way back against the elevator servo housing. When you put it that far back, CG is proper, airplane slows down well and comes in a lot slower. I've seen people utilize flaperons, but everybody that's using flaperons got the battery well forward, and it needs something if you do that. I don't think flaperons are necessary if you get the CG right and get it properly back where it needs to be, but you can utilize them if you want to regardless. When it comes to mechanical adjustments, the ailerons are set from the factory. They're quick connects. You just need to make sure that your ailerons are centered and that you tighten the grub screws on those quick connects so that they can't slip during flight. You do have to install the elevator push rod into the control horn. We're in the center of 3 holes. Comes to protocol, we fly Spectrum. We have an AR630 Plus right here. We put it in sideways. Hopefully you can see that. Reason being was to make room for the battery and make it easy to get that battery as far back as we could. And we did fly this airplane without AS3X Plus the first flight in 7 to 8 mile an hour winds, and it was a crap show. The airplane does not fly well in the wind without a stabilizer. Strongly recommend that you use one. AS3X Plus is a great one. And the demo flight you're going to see is in about 6 miles an hour wind, and the airplane does really well and is pretty smooth and precise with AS3X Plus in that kind of wind. So coming up next is our full setup page, our control throw, everything about our setup, including our AS3X Plus settings for those of you that might fly it on Spectrum. After that, it's going to be the demo flight. After that, meet you back here. We'll give you our final thoughts on this one. You don't want to miss those. Enjoy the flying. We didn't need to use Safe Select or a launch mode. This one launches pretty straight without it. Here we're going to do a 1G stall. Gets pretty slow, then finally drops that left wing. You just neutralize the controls and it recovers easily. The L-39 slows down alright. It's not a Cub, but I didn't expect it to be. Does pretty good for what it is. It is genuinely quick when you give it all the beams, and it's got great vertical. Obviously, being a bank and yank, it's limited in the aerobatics that it can do because it doesn't have a rudder, but it does everything that doesn't require that. This thing rolls like a drill bit, and that's with the aileron rate turned down a good bit. All the way up, it's just bonkers. What I'm most impressed with is the speed and the vertical. Excellent for a jet this size. It flies inverted just fine. We didn't want to get too cute because there's no strap, and we wanted to show you what it could do stock. A pilot could add a strap if they'd like, and that'll open up the inverted capability quite a bit. It's an interesting situation, this airplane. Listen, it flies good. It does. With our setup, I'm happy with the way that it flies. Does it fly exceptional? No, it doesn't. Have I flown better 50 and 64 millimeter hand toss EDFs? Yes, I have. But this is $129. A lot of the ones that I've flown that are a good bit better than this cost a good bit more. If you're looking for a budget fun little jet that is a screamer. I mean, it's a 50 millimeter frame with a 64 millimeter power system, and it shows. This is faster and has better vertical than any 50 millimeter EDF I've ever flown on 3 or 4S. So I'm impressed with that part of it. It is a little rocket, and it is a lot of fun. Very simple. It's the right price point. The question is, given the circumstances, is it worth it? Well, it depends on who you are. Parts availability is going to be non-existent in a short time. There are some parts available now, very few. I noticed the number of parts they have available is, I think HobbyKing honestly is opening a few boxes up and parting them out just to have them on hand and show that they're trying to support it. But the fact is, all these are going to sell and the parts availability is going to go away. That is just the simple truth of it. So the question is, if something electronic goes wrong later, is that a big deal? And it really isn't. You don't have to have this stuff. Any 9-gram servo will work, and you can get to the servos. You can get to the fan unit. You can get to the ESC. You can drop in a different 64 millimeter fan unit, maybe something even better than this, because this does sound like a pissed off hairdryer. It makes power, but you can make that much power something that sounds better. So yeah, from an electronic standpoint, that's not going to be a problem later on. You're not going to be able to buy the foam parts, but that's probably not a problem either for the right person. This airplane glues together. If you break the wing in half and you wanted to replace the wing, and you could get one, you've got to somehow take the wing off the fuse without tearing up a ton of foam after you glued it on, and that's very difficult to do. Almost impossible unless you really know what you're doing. It'd almost be better just to fix the wing and put that back together, which if you know what you're doing is absolutely doable. So if you know how to fix foam, Probably not a bad buy for the price point. Good flying airplane. And if you don't crash a lot, that's not really going to be an issue for you. So if you're a bit more experienced, you don't tear up foam a lot, if you want something like this, it's a good looking little airplane. It flies good. It's really fast. Worth every penny of $129 for you. It is not a beginner's EDF, I don't think. There's a lot better first EDFs out there. So if you're new, you're probably still crashing a lot. You need to stay away from this as your first EDF. If you tear foam up a lot, regardless of what you're flying, you crash a lot, this is not the airplane for you, because in the long run, you're going to end up putting it in the trash because you don't know how to fix it and you've torn it up and there's no parts availability. And if there were, nothing bolts on it. So you're going to be dead in the water anyway. So for the right person, absolutely worth $129. I wouldn't hesitate to add one to my hangar and pay that much for it, because I know I can fly this airplane for a long time and not tear it up and get my money's worth out of it very quickly. So if you fit the right bill, get one. If you don't, stay away from it. That's just the honest truth. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.